Imagine, if you will, Calvin and I, similar houses in a similar neighborhood, just like yours. But imagination is as big as the galaxy. With worlds we create and worlds we destroy. This is the story of Guardians Between.
Yeah. So this is a puzzle platformer game developed by the Australian studio, the Voxel Agents. It was released in September 2018 for Windows, Mac, Linux, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. For those of you that are Game Pass members, this game is available for Game Pass. So what is your quick review of this game, Zach?
My quick review of this game is that it's awesome. I found myself really enjoying the mechanics that went into play here, and honestly loving just the use of space and use of time, and also the sub-timeline where you can manipulate and move things as you try to solve the puzzles of like really decoding what's happening here in this storyline. I am happy that the ending was different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I remember you text me what you expected the ending to be.
Yes, I did.
And we won't spoil it quite yet, but yeah.
Opening a shot, you see that, very early on, moving the characters forward changes the timeline. Moving them backward reverses the timeline. It reminded me of Braid, which was, I believe, an Xbox 360 exclusive. Where you had a similar mechanic of being able to manipulate time to solve puzzles, and that was also a platformer. I think this one was done in a much smarter fashion, and I just love the use of, it's something that a kid would do. Everyday objects becoming, bigger than they are to create an environment where, it's open for fantasy and what happens. Like different elements, like when you go in, you need to traverse and solve a puzzle by going into a TV, but you're still controlling the characters in time the way. It's just a very smart game. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. This was a great game. I had it recommended to me by somebody that I follow online, and it did okay reviews wise, generally favorable. It won Game of the Year at the 2018 Australian Game Awards, Game Dev Awards, I should say, and was nominated for Gamer's Voice at the South by Southwest Game Awards. And yeah, I just really thought this was a wonderful game. Now knowing that it was, I missed out on this, but it did get released in May of 2019 on iOS, and this feels like the perfect. It could have been the perfect mobile game, but I think they would have had to compromise on some of their vision. So I'm glad that they started with a console.
I don't know how well I would have enjoyed this as a mobile game, just because of how the controls themselves weren't complex, but it's a lot of movement for a phone game. And I also feel like the things you need to do in order to interact, characters in certain places to interact with different things, I don't know. I think it would make it feel a lot clunkier and kind of ruin the experience, honestly.
Yeah, I think the only one that has been successfully able to do this is probably Monument Valley. I don't know if you've played that.
I haven't, actually.
Okay, yeah, that is one that has a similar vibe and similar kind of mechanics. I highly recommend it. It's like $2 on the Android Play Store. Yeah, I think if I'm going to rate this game out of 5, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. My only real complaints about the game are that one, it's I normally praise short games, but this felt extraordinarily short. I think if I had paid for it at retail, I think I might have been, which I think is like $20. I might have been a little upset. And I don't feel like the puzzles were very difficult, especially the last level. I was pretty disappointed with the difficulty on the last level.
Oh, the last level. I wasn't expecting. Will echo that. I was expecting like a very hard, just fight to get through that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have not played the game, go download it. It's a gig. And play it. Takes like 2 hours, and then come back and listen to the rest of our review. So let's get into the spoilers, I guess. I guess we start with what your favorite level was.
My favorite level was probably the one where you first encounter the dinosaur skeleton. I just love the way when you enter that level, everything kind of falls to pieces, and how in order to get to different areas of that level, you need to change time so the bones fall in different directions so you can actually go back to where you need to go based on where the bones are. And I think I actually took a little capture of that for our Instagram on our stories and just showed that mechanic of building the skeleton back up and then letting it fall back down to the water. And I just love that aspect of it, honestly.
Yeah, the game is stylistically gorgeous. And I think it runs so smoothly that those moments of seeing the world come together or fall apart are pretty incredible. I think that was probably one of my favorite levels as well. If you're not following us on social media, please do so. Zach does a great job of sharing when new episodes go live and taking polls. So follow us on Instagram at This Pod Is For Nerds, and on Twitter at This Pod Is the number 4 Nerds. I think the early levels do a really good job. So there's like three little worlds in each world, I guess, or in each constellation, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And I feel like each constellation, they implement like a new mechanic. Like you learn about how to handle the black holes that steal the light that comes from the feminine characters. I don't know, what would you call that? Like
a lantern's what I've been calling it.
A lantern, yeah. So that was super cool, and then the more masculine character is able to ring that bell to have the flower kind of expose that light so that you can absorb it. So I think it does a good job of introducing those new mechanics and then using them heavily in each level. But I feel like some of the mechanics don't get used in future levels as much. I feel like you get introduced to this new mechanic, and that's kind of the major focus for that constellation. I don't know if you experienced something similar.
You know what? I will echo that. I didn't think of it much that before. But that definitely happens, especially towards the end, when you have to interact with things in the background and foreground to trigger events. Like when you had to make the lightning, when you had to make the water drop fall on the exposed wire in the waterfall level, and then use that to light the lights that are near the fog so that the fog opened up the areas that you couldn't get to because you didn't have light for your lantern yet. Like that kind of thing wasn't really pronounced as much. Like that's how you get that to trigger. And then when you do get the trigger, that becomes a constant throughout the harder levels where, if you can't figure out something just from what you've seen or what you think you're being handed, look to your environment and what else is interacting with what in the background. Like I think there was one in particular where you had to put your light on one of those boxes, those platforms that jump around, and get it away from a dark flower that is in the sky as you rotate. It was the telescope one. I don't know if you remember that level or not.
Vaguely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do.
So there's that last dark flower that goes across the sky, and if you're not paying attention, it can take your light away from you if it's too close. Like just little things like that, I just wouldn't have thought to like watch out for. So I did catch myself going, "Oh, this is how this works," and just trying a bunch of things out to figure out what's going to go where and what's going to like transition to what. And again, overall, I think I really enjoyed the game. The one level that really kind of stumped me a little bit was the one where it opens up where you have to jump over the soda cans, because I kept trying to force both characters to go over like I saw 4 cans. I kept trying to force that interaction to happen, but in reality, I had to like let one can fall and then reverse count again and have somebody jump over the same can twice. I don't know. That one threw me off for a little bit. I actually had to put the game down and go do something else.
Oh, was that the one where the cans are in the water and they're going over the waterfall?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the levels I struggled with, and that one took me a while to figure it out. And yeah, this is one of those like if you're struggling on a level, you got to walk away from it and come back to it for sure.
You do. It gives you better perspective.
Yeah, definitely. There were a handful of levels I had trouble with. I think my favorite is coming up here pretty soon, and it's one you mentioned earlier. The video game one and the TV, as well as the VCR level.
Yep.
I thought those were really cool. But I think the best part about this game is the relationship between the characters and how they tell this story. It does the show don't tell thing.
Right.
They build these levels around their memories, and then once you complete the levels, it shows this constellation that kind of merges all the elements of the levels into one thing. So these were my like favorite parts was completing a constellation and then seeing, what's the bigger story here? Why did I see a video game console or a VCR? Oh, they had these movie nights together that were very special to them, and what was the deal with the popcorn? Oh, they used to throw popcorn at each other. So those moments, like the card stack, this level here coming up, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, this was a level I struggled with a little bit. Or no, I think it's the last one in this constellation. You have to move something in a way that allows like a blanket to go over it so that it doesn't steal your the light from your lantern. And I really struggled with that, and I almost looked up a guide because I was like, how the hell do I do this?
That one got me the same way the printer one got me later on.
Oh man, the printer one took me a good little while, because I didn't realize the numbers needed to be put into the printer until I like went all the way to the end of the level where I couldn't move any further.
Same here.
Yeah, and then you see the ink press, the like metal piece where it's like golden on the certain numbers, and I'm like, all right, well, how am I going to type those numbers in? So I start going back there, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to like pause time once they press a number and like move forward time to get them to press it again. Yep. That was a really, really tough one. And then even then, once I put those numbers in, I didn't know what I was supposed to be printing. And right. I think I ended up printing 2 different things. Like I printed the little buddy, and I don't think that was the right thing. I was supposed to print the little light that the boy can pull on to move the black hole.
I printed everything a couple of times, honestly, just to see what they did. So I honestly was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try everything. That was the point 1, 2, I think, where you have to like mess with the sound wave generator, and you have to like keep tapping A to get the glass to break. But the game never tells you that's what you're supposed to do. It just says, "Oh, move time." Like I never thought, okay, cool. If I keep his frequency going, it's gonna break the glass, and I can get the light at the end. Like that threw me off entirely. I will say too, when you mention constellations, I like how the loading screen is the constellation at the end of the game, and I didn't know that. You wouldn't know that until you get to the end of the game. I personally wasn't really connecting with the memories the same way you were, because since I knew you recommended the game, I anticipated that one or both of these characters were actually dead.
Is that what I do to you, Zach?
I honestly was like, this game is really relaxing. It's it's fun. I was like, wait a minute, there was a really bad storm. There were 2 kids, and now we're in a world that's very different than what they showed before. So is this like purgatory? Are they both dead? At least in memories of like. I got that they were memories, but the question is why am I remembering these?
yeah. I mean, it's still not the happiest of endings.
It's not, but I think everybody can relate to that, though. Like, everyone that's had, and looking at the game pieces that are here, this is like from the early 90s when like there wasn't a Facebook or like an Instagram to like keep up with your friends. I think all of us have lived through this before, so it made me laugh too, because I love how like the set pieces, you could tell these are people who were gamers and like grew up with these things. Like, this was their livelihood. This was their life, and it's a story of like something we've all been through. We've all lost friends for various reasons, but friends, I don't want to give away the ending here, but things happen, and you can't.
Yeah, I mean, we're into full spoilers. I think we can discuss the contents of the ending.
Well, yeah, at the end of the game, this is a story of these 2 friends remembering their times together, because I think the boy's name is Frond or Fredden, something like that.
Yeah, all I know is the girl is like Arena, I think.
Yeah. He moves away, and so this is a story of them going through their past, and even in the opening sequence, you see like a moving van. That's one of the memories, and just kind of goes through like their timeline. This scene was crazy because you had to like go break into the TV to get the light, and then come back out, and then stop time and bring the light back out, which was crazy. It had Lanterns be on there first. I don't know. This game was very smart. It caught my attention really well. I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
Yeah, this was kind of the level that made me realize, this is why I like these type of puzzle games, as the developers get really creative with how you interact with the world, and it almost becomes meta.
Yes.
Very self-referential. So, yeah, I just think this was a fantastic game, and I'm really excited to see what this dev team does next. I mean, they just released this on iOS in 2019. I'm curious how that translated, and I wonder if they're going to stick with this genre, or if they're going to continue the story. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. What would you like to see from them next?
Honestly, I would be curious to see not the same. I would be curious to see where their minds push them mechanically for a new game. Whether it's another iteration of this game, or just a different, style, not style, but a different story entirely. Because there's a lot of things in this that made me, as frustrated as I got, when I figured out what the problem was, it made me laugh, because like, wow, that takes an awesome, brain trust of people put together to figure this kind of thing out and then make it work. It's almost like the Goldberg machines. I think those are what they're called. Where people set up a million dominoes that trigger all these different things that flop around and kick up and splatter paint against the wall. And
I love those.
Yeah, and I think this game is basically that with time manipulation.
Oh yeah. It reminds me a lot of Prince of Persia, I think.
And you know what? You mentioned that in the previous podcast, which you should go check out. And I those games are so fun.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. But yeah, it's got that kind of and actually, interestingly enough, Braid was inspired by the Sands of Time game.
Yes,
the rewind mechanic that's often referenced by the developer of Braid. And his latest game, The Witness, may be something we need to visit in Media Club at some point. I think this does the moving forward in time is a really interesting way of handling control of the game, and also giving hints to the player. So like there were moments where I was stuck and I didn't know which part of the map I should be looking at. And as I went forward in time, there would be moments where a character would sit back instead of move forward.
And they would point or they'd cross their arms and look up.
Yeah, and that kind of gives you a hint at, hey, you should be looking at this part of the map to help you progress. And I just thought that is a great way of telling your player how to get through a level. I thought that was super creative.
I agree. And I also like that their individual personalities came out a lot in this too. Like when the first time you cross a cloud bridge, his name is something more complex. I'm going to call him Fred for this one because close to Fred would kind of like be timid about it, where Rena would just run across. And you see Fred react like, "Whoa, like what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then when like you came to the I don't know what it's actually called, but it was basically a sound generator that cracks the glass so you get the light from the head.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Arena just stops and just shakes her head and points for Fred to go do it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to take it." So I love that, like that back and forth. You get to see their individual personalities without they're actually saying a word. What I think is a great proof of storytelling, being able to explain things without saying anything. And this game does it really well. You know, there's never words exchanged in this game for any reason. I don't even think there's words. I think there's maybe words on like, oh, there you go, super silly bro. That's words there. But other than that, nothing's really said in this game. And I think it's awesome. So if you get the story, you understand what's happening and all of that. You understand while it's happening, but afterwards it all kind of comes at home.
Yeah, it's a thinker in certain ways. Yeah, this was just a very, very unique platformer in my eyes. I think the team did a great job. I don't know if it's ever one that I would revisit, but it's certainly one I would recommend to a friend, I think, if they're looking, you know.
You mentioned about movies, about like The Last of Us. This story has been told. I don't have to go back and revisit. Like I played through the levels not only because they were great, but I also understand more of the story and happened. I know what happened now. I'm okay with that. I'm pleased with it. I probably won't touch it again.
Yeah, I think there's a little replayability. Like if there's a certain level you really like and you want to show somebody it, I think there's replayability there. But other than that, it doesn't have much. So I think maybe let's get into the. I think we both have similar feelings on the ending of the game. So maybe let's get into that.
Oh, okay. So as you expect, as each level is progressing harder, I think there's 9 individual levels, and then you have the 10th being the finale level, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. So each one is getting progressively harder, each stage is getting more difficult to figure out what's in the story. And one thing I noticed is that as you go through the story, the lighting and the tone gets a lot darker as you move towards the finale. The final level, so in most games, when you have a final level, all of everything you've learned, all the knowledge you've acquired, all the mechanics you come to get used to, comes into play to beat the final level. Except for this game, where literally none of it comes into play, and you just walk up a spiral staircase.
Yeah, sorry. I think I cut out there.
Yeah. And I was like probably a good 45 minutes to an hour into that particular session, so I think I split it into 2 different sessions. And I was like, okay, well, the characters, this is their memories, and we end at them hugging, and you see the final constellation has been the loading constellation the entire time. It's in the bottom right hand of the screen, which I thought was cool. And then you see the character, Fred, getting in his car with his family, and they move, and Arena's left outside waving. And I had to look at it as if it was a good story that came to an end, and less of like I was looking for a challenge from a game, because that ending was kind of like it was just nothing. So, I think the ending was really meant to drive in more heart than it was necessarily like this is the boss of the game. You know.
Yeah, I my big issue is mostly the mechanics of the last puzzle. You know, you expect with a final level, okay, you spent 2 hours learning all the different mechanics that we've placed into this game. You're a master at this now, so we're going to throw you the most complex puzzle. And so I do the first little section and I go up and I'm like, okay, so there's going to be like 8 or 9 different levels to this staircase. And each one's going to be like a super complex level that focuses on each mechanic from the game. And come to find out, no, it is nothing like that. It was incredibly easy. It was one of the easiest levels in the game, honestly, like other than the first like 3 or so. I think I had zero issue with it. So like I had more trouble with this level right here with the popcorn and the couch than I did with the last level. So just a little disappointing. As far as that goes, I was expecting that to be the hardest thing I had faced. But you know, maybe they were trying to wind us down and kind of get us ready to transition back into the, you know, the real world and tell us where this story is going. I can respect that decision if that's what they were going for.
That's what I like to think they were going for, honestly, because it definitely was like, it just reminded me, like, you know, that last scene. It just I said, wow, you know, my thought was someone on the dev team, on the creative team, is telling their story, and you know, you don't want to remember all the difficulties that came with solving the puzzles, I guess, and you just want to enjoy the time you had, the last moments you said goodbye to someone. I mean, that's kind of what I got from the end of the story, was like, they're like, you know, they had a friend they knew, they didn't get to see again, and you know, whatever, whether that's true or not, it's enough for most people to relate to that and say, yeah, I've been through that experience, and I think that's what they were going for in the end. So I agree with you. Like, I was like, what is this? And then I actually went back to the middle of the map the first time because I couldn't find my light, and I had like these light bugs follow me, but they didn't say that was supposed to be like what I needed to like win. So find the flowers, or maybe I'm missing something. I'm like, no, this is just a spiral. Okay.
Yeah. For those that care, the achievements are super easy.
They are.
I have all of them. There's a super easy guide that shows you how to get all of them, and the good thing is there's nothing missable, and there's a level select in this game. So I would say if you do care about achievements, play through the game on its own without any guide. You'll probably pick up a good chunk of them, and then go back and do the level select, because there's not a ton of achievements. Yeah, super easy 1,000. Get it done in like 3 hours probably.
Yeah, I think that was the time I had it, because I think I blazed through the first 5 worlds pretty easily, and I got stuck where whichever world was like the soda can one got me stuck. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stop for a while.
Yeah, that was super frustrating, and I also had a hard time with I think it's a little bit, it's either right before that or right after, where you there's 2 rivers that you're going through, and you have to like walk through the right section with the lantern.
Oh yeah, okay. That was, I think it's like directly after. That's the next challenge, directly after the cans, actually.
Is that okay? Yeah, I thought it was around there because they're very similar. Challenges, because you have to go through there as the boy, and then work your way back. Because when you went over there, you unlocked the light for her, and then you both have to walk through the right way and then drop off her lantern so that the black hole that's on one of the little things going through the water doesn't pick it up. I really struggled with that, but I eventually got through it. But yeah, this is definitely one of those games where you gotta like come back to it.
Yeah.
Don't get frustrated and, rage quit. Just be like, all right, I just need 30 minutes to focus on something else and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah, because you start to see things that really don't matter and try to focus on forcing those things to matter, and they just won't.
Yeah, that's totally true.
This game bit me a couple times with that. I was like, okay, cool. I will say too, because you commented on it, I did enjoy these moments where you get to see how it all played together, memory wise.
Yeah.
To the point where I started trying to guess some of them. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And some of them I didn't know, when Arena lost her Letterman jacket or almost dropped it in the Storm Drain. I wouldn't have gotten that just from how the level was set up. So it was just cool to kind of see some of those things.
Yeah. No, I thought that was these are certainly the most interesting segments to me because it does a really good job of kind of wrapping up. His name is Frent, which is an interesting name. Frendt. Yeah. So I don't have anything else to really say about this game. Do you have anything else?
I don't. I recommend it to anybody. My rating will be, I'll say, a 4 out of 5 as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't even ask you what you'd rate up.
You're good. I think it was a great game. It was visually stunning. I loved the way it was set up. I love the mechanics in it. I don't give it a 5 out of 5. Honestly, no. For an overall experience, I'll give it a 5 out of 5. I'm gonna stick to it.
All right, Voxel Agents, you got the 5 out of 5 approval from Zach Van Buren.
Right, let it happen. Let's see some more stuff happen. Let's keep partying with iOS, maybe, and then some more games. Let's give some more mechanics going in your games. I want to see more what you can do. Give me the Rube Goldberg experience.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Do you have what we're gonna play or read or watch next?
Yes, because you finally stop being a holdout. Calvin will finally start Borderlands 3. Because we've been talking about this since the beginning of this podcast, and I really want to see his experience, and I'll be playing alongside of him, so we'll probably do his gameplay, and I'll just be a character on there. I want to kind of be an unofficial guide because I've played through this game a couple times. I may have built up 3 out of the 4 vault hunters that are currently available. 60.
Dang.
So, I've been a vault hunter for about 10 years now.
Yeah, I have some experience with this series, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited to actually get to play this one because it is the only one I have not touched. So.
This game will touch you back. So I will be playing with Calvin with a vanilla build of Mose, which is the only character I actually have no experience with whatsoever. And then I'll play alongside whichever character Calvin decides to play with. So,
do we have Zero still?
You do not have Zero.
This game is a 2 out of 5. I'm reviewing it now.
If you really love playing with Zero, then you should play as Flack, who is one of my favorite. He's actually my main character, honestly.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So join us in 2 weeks, I guess. So that will be. So this is coming out August 20th. So make sure you join us on September 3rd. Wow, this podcast has been going on for a while.
Dude,
it's crazy. This is episode 22 of the podcast, which is crazy to think of.
It really is.
Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out to Beer Camp. I know you're still closed right now due to COVID. I hope all of your team is safe. It's a local place that is actually the inception of where I asked Calvin to do this podcast with me. So it'll always have a special place in this podcast history, and I hope everyone comes back soon and safely. We get to go have beer and also meet there. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we haven't done a business shout out in a while, so thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so join us on September 3rd when we review Borderlands 3. We will have some gameplay of this game as well, I think, which will go up on our YouTube channel at some point. So those go up on Mondays. Just as a reminder, right now we have our Let's Drink of Halo Combat Evolved. So the first 2 levels are up there. We're playing it on Legendary, and we're taking shots every time that we both die. And if you had to only watch one, I highly recommend you watch episode 2, because I think we die collectively like 12, 15 times. So there's a lot of drinking.
I think I finished like half a bottle of tequila.
Yeah. So that's a rough one. And then next week you'll see our gameplay, our, I guess, first impressions of the new Obsidian to be released, Grounded.
Yeah.
So yeah, check for those on Mondays, and the pod's up on Thursday. So yeah, do you wanna take us out, Zach?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on these last 22 episodes. We honestly didn't expect to get a single listener. If you listen back to our earlier podcast, which you should do, we joked about, we're kind of doing this for fun, to let our own creative minds stretch a little bit. And I am very excited that we've had people listening and giving feedback and asking questions and participating with us on, Instagram and YouTube and everything. So thank you. Thank you for joining us, your fellow nerds, on this podcast, which is for nerds. Thank you and good evening.
Thanks, everyone.